Morning everyone, welcome to Thought for the Day. We've taken a bit of a break, but we're back again each weekday, and that's if we have enough thoughts in our head. I've actually missed doing them, but I was grateful for the break to refresh, and thankful to Derek and Elaine for putting one or two new thoughts and some previous ones on here to keep some continuity. I think that was important. I've been thinking a great deal about my previous trips to Africa, to South Africa and Botswana and Nigeria, and partly because we were due to go out to Nigeria in May. You know, we'd got all the flights booked, excuse me, but of course COVID-19 took over, and now we don't know when we're going to be able to go safely, hopefully in the not too distant future. But I've kept in touch by phone and email with my good friend, the Reverend Lambert Ono. He's my main contact there, and I met him in England. He came to study at Wolverhampton University, and we became friends, and so when he went back to Nigeria, we continued our contact. And Lambert is the principal of a school over there. It's one of several projects we visited that the church runs in the area of Nigeria called Uzakoli. That's the Uzuakoli. I've been pronouncing it wrong for a long time. I think that might still be wrong, but I'm not sure. And Uzakoli is a 9-hour journey by road from Lagos, the capital. Huge city. And it's been a really difficult time there. People who were already in poverty are suffering even more during the pandemic. The teachers in the school have had to be furloughed, and because the school's been ordered to close during this time, and people don't receive any money from the state, and the church can't afford to support them, so they've really struggled. We've tried to support them as best we can, and St Albans has donated along with a very generous private donation from a member of the congregation, which we were grateful for, and Lambert and everyone was really grateful for. But in a sense, COVID has halted our efforts to focus on other needs that we identified along with the community there. The first priority was to get a borehole drilled so that the school and local community could have running water, and that was thankfully completed earlier this year, and has made a huge difference to people's lives there. Rather than having to go searching for water, which is what a lot of the children had to do, and which put them at risk, they now have the water and don't need to do that anymore. And the next priority we'd planned was to get a roof put on the boys' dormitory, because the previous one had blown off in a storm, and there just isn't the finance to replace it. And there are other projects that the church run. There's a leprosy village which is in such desperate need of refurbishment. If you saw it, you would be amazed at the way that people are having to live. These are people who've been shunned by their own community because they've had leprosy. A lot of fear around leprosy. And the buildings, as I say, are in terrible condition. They're subsiding and they're in poor condition, broken, cracked. And it's where a lot of people spend many years of their lives. Someone that we met there had been there over 40 odd years. It was his permanent home. And there's also a motherless babies unit, which, when we say motherless babies unit, we mean motherless and fatherless babies unit. And they take in abandoned and orphan babies. Such is the poverty in Nigeria that babies are often abandoned, and we can't stand in judgment of mothers who feel desperate enough to do that, given their economic situation. And that unit is quite poorly equipped. It needs upgrading, lots of things, and there's so much to do. And we hope that we can play a little part by partnering with them over there. But despite all these difficulties, when I speak to Reverend Lambert, the majority of the phone call is taken up with laughter, and it's joyous. It's infectious in a far better way than COVID-19. And I remember that one of my abiding memories of all the trips has been the laughter that I shared with all manner of people, whatever their circumstance. And along with that laughter was a deep and abiding faith in God, a belief that whatever circumstance they are in, God is with them. Even the simplest journey is started with a prayer. And along with that deep faith in God was an expression of God's love in the way that they offered hospitality to us. I never forget, in South Africa, I visited a family whose sole possession was a beaten up plastic garden chair. And I was made to sit on it as an honoured guest, even though I was reluctant to take that only chair. And remember, in that country and in other African countries, my white skin could have been associated with oppression, the history of oppression. But that wasn't the focus. That wasn't my experience. That's not what I was reminded of by them, only by myself. I was very conscious of those issues. And even when we were met with hostility, it also brought laughter. When we arrived in Lagos, we were met by Lambert, and he pushed our trolley with our luggage to a waiting car, and on the way he accidentally hit the leg of a woman who began shouting, "This evil man is trying to impress these white people by doing that to me. Well, we don't need those white people here. They've taken too much from us." It was funny, even though there was a serious and understandable message there. But everyone laughed. It was a real welcome to Nigeria. And the first night we stayed in a Christian B&B in seemed like quite a dodgy part of Lagos. And on the walls of the B&B there was a sign: no sex, no drinking, no drugs, no gambling, and no smoking. And we looked at each other and we both said, well, now what we're going to do? And in the middle of the night, I needed the bathroom, and there were 2 doors in the bedroom. And I went in to what I thought was the bathroom, turned the light on, only to find myself in another bedroom with a naked man lying on the bed. I quickly shut the door. And the next morning there was a big commotion down in the reception area, and there was a man shouting to the receptionist, "Why are you allowing big white men to come in my bedroom at night?" And we slipped out as quickly as we could to start our journey to Azakale. And there was laughter all the way about our introduction to Nigeria. And laughter is a great joy, isn't it? In a sense, it's a gift of living in the moment and in the presence of God, and trusting that tomorrow is not worth worrying about. I need laughter When I laugh, I feel emotionally and physically better. And laughter can be a celebration of life, can't it? A way of sharing joy with others, a way of dealing with our absurdities and our failures and placing them into a healthier context. And money and worldly success don't make us joyful. Sometimes the more we have, the more anxious we feel about losing it. I read a book some time ago about status anxiety, and part of it showed how much of our anxiety is tied up with our need to acquire status through our possessions. But the people I've met on my trips have very little, and yet there's such a joyousness evident. Now, I don't mean to romanticize poverty. I know that poverty can mean a grinding down of body and spirit. But I'm just reporting what I saw and experienced, and I realized what I wanted and needed was what they were showing me. You know, I have the ability to laugh at myself, and it's been life-saving sometimes. But have I the ability to disassociate myself from my possessions in order to live more freely? No, I fail miserably. I am caught up in the Western world notion that says to have is to live. That's the context in which we live. And it's probably the biggest lie we will ever be taken in by. But at least we can laugh about it. And I think Jesus had a great sense of humour, and you can discover that in the Gospels. And he came up with some great one-liners. And one of them, and they always spoke volumes. They weren't just one-liners, they spoke volumes. He didn't waste words. And it says, when he says, it's a great one-liner this, when he says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into the kingdom of God. What a line. Well, I'll see you, I'll be with you next Thursday, and take care, look after yourselves, and God bless. Bye-bye.